Hi, welcome to ETTV. I'm Noah Bombard. I'm here today with Mike Sweeney, the former planning director for the City of Lawrence. Now, Mike was part of the last administration, and some changes happened when the new mayor-elect came on board. And his first day of office, within his first few days of office, there were several department heads that were given the axe. You were one of them.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about leading up to that. Did you see this coming?
Well, I think there are. Anytime you have a change like this, there are a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation, and I was hearing feedback from two individuals that the mayor eventually hired were going around town saying that I was being targeted to be fired.
Yeah. Now let's put this in perspective a little bit. The City of Lawrence is facing a pretty major deficit. Up until recently, the number was about 17 million or so.
Yes.
And now it's reported to be about 24.5 million.
That's my understanding.
Right. The mayor contends that this is part of a measure to save money. However, right in the beginning, he said right off the bat that he didn't, referring to you, said didn't share the mayor's views, mission, vision, or philosophy. Do you think you could have worked with this mayor? Could you have stayed in this job?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, what happened to myself and another small handful of employees is that we were targeted for either political or personal vendettas directed by the new mayor, Mayor William Lantigua, or key members of his staff. And that's the unfortunate thing about this. There is real structural change that's needed for the taxpayer across the Commonwealth in Lawrence.
Now let's talk about how you ended up getting out of office, because it's been kind of a back and forth process over the past few weeks.
Sure has been.
The mayor came into office. You were fired or laid off, or fired actually right off the bat, pretty much,
Yes.
along with the other department heads. You then appealed to the city council, who then backed you up.
Correct.
And said, you know what, this seems to be a political issue. Put Mike Sweeney back in that office. The next day, you arrive at your office. You're greeted by a police officer.
Yes, absolutely amazing, which I think any of your viewers would find that amazing. But particularly for that to happen in Lawrence, and it was not just a police officer; it was a lieutenant from the police department who, sometime during the night, received a call and was put on order by the mayor to be there well before I could get into work to bar me entry from my workplace, which, as you mentioned, the previous night, the legal authority in the City of Lawrence, the Lawrence City Council, acting under the color of the law, reinstated me to my position. And I did what I was supposed to do. I got up, showered, got myself ready for the day, and got to work 10 minutes early so I could start my day.
And that reinstatement turns out to be short-lived, since the mayor then turned around and laid you off, eliminated the position,
Right.
saying it was to save money. Obviously, the mayor ended up getting his way in this situation. Are you hearing anything from city councilors who voted to reinstate you, or from citizens in general who see this as the mayor kind of trumping the city council's decision?
It's really created the firestorm, and I think the reason it's created the firestorm isn't so much because it's me who's involved. It's really created the firestorm because people can see that the law is being broken and that taxpayers' dollars are being wasted.
Well, let's talk about some comments that have come from the mayor's office, particularly about you. It does seem that the current administration is laying the blame for this deficit on the past administration, which you were a part of.
Sure.
In the most recent article we ran, Mayor Lantigua's chief of staff is saying he, Sweeney, was the closest to the mayor as you can be, and there was responsible as the mayor for these problems. He says Mike Sweeney can criticize all he wants, but he should be ashamed of himself. The numbers speak for themselves.
He is right about that. The numbers do speak for themselves, and only Mr. Degnan should be ashamed of himself for once again lying to the public. The fact of the matter is that since 2003, as an elected official, I was already calling for a fiscal control board in Lawrence, and over the last 4 years, the departments that I oversee were given $1 million over the course of 4 years in taxpayer funds. The very simple, verifiable fact through the Department of Revenue is that we generated directly $6 million in actual revenue that was brought into the city by our efforts. Again, Mr. Degnan is using a tool of government to spread a lie. And that's when, as a taxpayer, you need to step back and say, whoa, what is going on here in the City of Lawrence? Why are they lying to us? And that's the question that needs to be answered. And that's why myself and hundreds of other people now are calling for transparency and accountability.
Now let's talk about Facebook for a second, because
Sure.
it's a nice segue. You've recently started a Facebook page. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's a pretty amazing tool, actually. I've went on Facebook for the first time about 2 or 3 days ago and created 48 hours ago a Facebook page that is called Finance Control Board for Lawrence. We have already over 100 individuals from across the Commonwealth who have signed up to be part of that page. And basically what the page does is it asks for Beacon Hill to give us transparency and accountability in Lawrence and immediately place a fiscal control board into the city, similar to what was done in Chelsea and Springfield. Chelsea and Springfield, both those models with a fiscal control board, ended up working.
Now, what kind of oversight would this fiscal control board have, and what benefit would that be to the taxpayers of Lawrence?
Well, it would be a benefit to the taxpayers of Lawrence and to the taxpayers across the Commonwealth, because what you would have is professional people who deal with contracts, benefits, labor negotiations, and who are just general experts on budgets, and who have actual experience in helping to turn municipalities and other agencies around. And they would be making hardcore business decisions based on the numbers and based on productivity, instead of based on political hackism and hiring friends and family. And that's what Lawrence needs. Lawrence needs to avoid the lawsuits. They need to avoid this type of circus that was orchestrated by the mayor and Patrick Blanchette, and they need to focus on getting crime down, developing business, and returning money to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts instead of being a constant drain year after year.
Yeah. Speaking of the circus, I think you're talking about is probably the meeting, the city council meeting that you attended. There were a lot of signs, there were a lot of people calling for your dismissal. Do you feel that that was orchestrated by this administration?
Well, it was clearly orchestrated. I mean, we have pictures that we've shared with the media where Mayor Lantigua's headquarters, which is approximately 75 feet away from the city council chambers, has signs in it that were partially made. And what's funny is, if you look at these signs, they're all in the exact same handwriting. Mayor Lantigua and Patrick Blanchette, who no one's even sure what his role is in the city of Lawrence right now, that night said that around 2 or 3 o'clock, they were just coming back from a meeting in Boston and had just found out that the deficit was revised, as you mentioned earlier, to $24.5 million. And yet, they think that the public is gullible enough to believe that somehow these gentlemen who live on High Street in Lawrence, that they had the same privy to that same
because the
information.
numbers on the signs were
the numbers
revealing
are on
the
the sign.
24.5.
It's all in the same handwriting. And these signs, half made, were photographed inside Mayor Lantigua's headquarters. This was a fabrication upon the public, and it's a shameful act.
Let's talk about what you're doing right now. You're not in the city of Lawrence City Hall anymore, at least.
No.
Are you shopping around for a new job? What are your prospects?
Well, absolutely. I think, again, as everybody knows, it's an incredibly tough economy out there. Everyone is struggling, even if you have a job. I am very actively looking for work. I do not want to go on unemployment. I understand why it's there. But I'm someone who always wants to work for a living. And I will continue to seek gainful employment. And until then, I'm engaged in some citizen activist type activity to try to raise more awareness about what's going on in our government in general, but particularly so that we don't miss the opportunity and we do not allow Lawrence to receive $35 million without direct fiscal control and oversight, again, like what happened in Chelsea and Springfield. Those models worked. Just because this mayor also happens to be a current state representative making another $70,000, the insiders at Beacon Hill should not give him a blank paycheck. That's what we're calling for.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck. Remind our viewers to continue following Eagle-Tribune and the Eagle-Tribune.com for more stories as we continue to follow the new mayor and the new administration and developments there. And thank you for joining us.